We don't see the far right having a hold on the European Parliament, but there is obviously going to be a greater representation of right-wing and ultra-right-wing parties in the European Parliament. If there is a Gibraltar Treaty with respect to the UK and the EU, it has to be ratified by the European Parliament. So all of these issues are rightly concerns of anyone who is watching developments, and I share those concerns with every single Gibraltarian.
Is it a case that they might have a direct impact, or perhaps the indirect influence that they might exert over the EU?
Let's be very clear. The European Parliament has to approve the treaty. And so therefore, there is a direct influence arising from this European election on what the final conclusion might be in the context of a treaty that we put before the Gibraltar Parliament, the British Parliament, none of which are affected by this, but by the European Commission before the European Parliament. So there's a direct effect of what these results mean this weekend and the potential for approval of any treaty that we might be able to negotiate.
I also asked the Chief Minister for his view on a letter in the Chronicle by Sir Joe Bossano on the subject of the use of Spanish police at Gibraltar's entry points. Sir Joe accuses Spain of doing as they always do, by going back on a position which had been previously agreed upon, saying he will not blink first.
Gibraltar has expressed its view on a number of occasions in this respect, not just in the context of this negotiation and not just after the Brexit referendum, but on a number of occasions when the pressure has been put on us. When my parents voted in the 1967 referendum, they were being offered a halcyon alternative to the closure of the frontier, and yet they didn't blink. And if they didn't blink in 1967 and they went through everything they went through, it would be to really let them down to blink now. They may as well have blinked then and not have gone through everything that they went through. So Joe's letter is expressing in his terms exactly the same thing that every member of my cabinet and every member of my party thinks, and is almost verbatim what I say when I'm sitting round the negotiating table. Almost verbatim, except I add that we don't blink because we've had our eyelids removed.
Do you share his view then that this is what Spain always does, to quote him, go back on positions that were previously agreed?
Absolutely. I've been in the room in a number of negotiations, some of which have had successful outcomes. Doesn't mean that they didn't come at 5 minutes to midnight trying to go back to where they were at 1 o'clock